Welcome to this week's Ask Charlie. I've roped my husband in to have a fishy conversation with you. I have had various questions over the years if I would get Sigh to come and chat to you all about fish, and so I thought we'd take this opportunity while we're on holiday to have a chat to you all. So darling, welcome. Thanks for joining me. So we're not in the kitchen cooking fish, but this is really a chat about where to buy fish, what type of fish in season, all of that kind of chat. So darling, over to you. So actually, let me just, before I hand over to Sigh has had a fish business for how many years?
Ooh,
Heading
20, no, nearly 30 years.
Almost 30 years. So has been in the fish industry for a very long time and is very knowledgeable. Simon supplies pub groups?
Restaurant and
pub
hospitality,
groups.
in the hospitality
Hospitality.
here in the
Some
UK,
into supermarkets, into the UK. So, you know, he's pretty knowledgeable. And I have learned a lot more about fish since we have been together. I was not a big fish eater before. Always loved fishing, and I would eat fish that I had caught, but I wouldn't put my hand up and order fish at a restaurant until I met you, really, darling. So will you chat to us?
Sure, yeah.
About fish.
Absolutely.
Have a fishy conversation with you.
We'll have a fishy conversation. Well, I suppose the first thing to think about seafood, and we're talking about fish rather than prawns or lobster or crab or anything like that, but we're just talking about fish as part of the seafood category. I suppose the first question is you've got to look at today in what you are comfortable in eating from a sustainability point of view, and that has been a big driver in the seafood industry. Probably the seafood industry has probably been ahead of the game in its sustainability program than many other food industries. It's actually, if you think about it, wild caught fish is the last of the hunted species. Everything else we eat as far as food proteins are concerned, whether it's chicken, pork, beef, lamb, is effectively a farmed raised product, whereas seafood is still predominantly, probably, I don't know what the exact figures are, there's probably something over 60% of the seafood we consume is still wild, and then you've got the other 40% of aquaculture products.
And that's farmed.
And that's farmed,
agriculture.
Yeah.
And it's MSC, isn't it? Which is the Marine Stewardship Council, or is that different?
Marine Stewardship Council is a certification process, and they work alongside fisheries and scientific advisors to those fisheries that analyse and monitor the stocks of fish from the very small fry all the way up to the larger seafood. So they are very much involved with the management of fisheries, not just in actually the fish itself, but also how the fish is caught, other potential impact to the environment, potentially to other marine life. I think it would probably be fair to say that, it's probably, sustainability is one of these things. I always think nothing is 100% sustainable. I think that it is a journey that everybody is on today, and I think the Marine Stewardship Council do a pretty good job. So I think that UK retail, major food service, both in the UK, Europe, and to a degree in the States, are very on board with the MSC programme. So I suppose that's a starting point on wild caught fish. MSC ticks all the boxes, but it has to be said that just because a particular species isn't MSC certified, it doesn't necessarily mean that that's unsustainable and you should walk away from it. There are a number of species, for instance, which are in what's called FMPs, which are fish management programs, and they are moving towards MSC certification, but they're not there yet, and that could be for a variety of reasons.
What they are?
I can think of one or two at the moment. I think monkfish is one. Definitely, I think lemon soles in certain parts of Europe are another one. And there is a small amount of MSC monkfish and some lemon soles which are MSC, but it varies from
depends on the areas, doesn't it?
It depends on the
You
area.
know, this is quite a difficult conversation to have because it depends what's in season. It depends on so many different variants, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Because fish that is available is normally fish that's going to be, you know, in season, isn't it? Unless there's lots of air miles to it. Possibly.
Yeah,
I don't know. I mean, it's so. When we buy fish as a family, which isn't that often because a lot of it we get via you, but we buy fish from the supermarket. I think the supermarket does a very good job in the fish that we have.
Well, I think, yeah. I mean, I think
the UK.
if I was to be, I mean, essentially, you know, you still have good high quality fishmongers, and they will. You can go into a good high quality fishmonger and express the type of fish that you want, and that the fact that you want to be buying responsibly sourced fish. And that, as I said, doesn't necessarily mean it has to be MSC, but there is certainly, you know, a good fishmonger will be only supplying responsibly sourced seafood.
And clued up and knowledgeable.
Or indeed you can go to one of the premium sort of online type operations like Rockfish that we've talked about before.
Yeah, we'll talk a bit more about Rockfish in a minute.
Also linked with Pipers. But they do a great job and they're passionate about seafood, and they also have a great model of being able to offer you fresh fish with their own homemade sauces, which is really nice.
Well, because Simon's mentioned it, we'll talk a little bit about Rockfish now. Simon and I went down just over a year ago and visited Rockfish. You met them in Iceland on a fish business trip and got chatting to them, and they've got a really interesting sort of business model, and we were invited to go down and look at their processing, look at how the fish comes in off the boats, goes through the fish market and is processed, and then they supply their own restaurants, but it's online fish as well. So you can go onto their website and you can order fish that is available, fresh fish, fish of the week, and frozen as well. And they have an incredibly brilliant service, and we use them as a family. So if I am doing a dinner party or a special treat for us or for Ask Charlie, I will order fish from Rockfish. So we are customers, we're big fans, and they've sweetly given us a discount code to share with you of Charlie25 for 25% off your first order over £40. So you can try Rockfish yourself and try them out. And it's a great service if you're eating fish, once a week, once a month, whatever it might be, and you want to try different types of fish, because they also talk you through, they've got a barcode which you can scan, and then it gives you different ways to cook the recipe, and that we've had fun doing that.
Yeah, and
really looking at different ways, whether you're barbecuing it, whether you are cooking it in the oven, whether you're frying it.
I mean, what I like about Rockfish is that it's an artisan operation. It's headed up by Mitch Tonks, who's very well known in the seafood world, and is
as a chef.
Yeah, he's innovative and he's inspired and he's passionate, and that really comes across in what they do. So I just thought I'd mention that because that is an option where they will be offering seasonal fish.
Yes.
Principally from their part of the world, so it's kind of down the Devon, Cornwall part of the world, English Channel. Yeah. Yeah. So, but if we move on to, so that's one option.
So it's like an online fishmongers. So that's a great option if you don't have a local fishmonger. And gone is the day where every town had a local fishmonger, which I think is such a shame. Some supermarkets will have a local
I'll go on to that because things have changed dramatically.
That's going as well.
Yeah. So your other option, and I think which is also a very strong option, is one of the high-end retailers. And I'm not saying that Tesco's don't do a good job, and Asda and actually Morrison's have their own seafood processing facility. They all do a great job. I think Waitrose is, very much where I would be going, possibly M&S. Just because I sort of, I think that they are perhaps, they're probably a little bit higher end, but they're a little bit more innovative in some of the things that they do.
Yeah.
But as I said, all the main retailers have a really good offering of seafood now, and sustainability, responsibly sourced, is key. And you're not going to find every product, not absolutely in quality, but you're not going to find every single species they offer with the MSC logo. But I would have thought now it's got to probably be 90%.
Yeah.
So you've got the rockfish type operations on the one hand, you've got the retailers on the other hand, and then it's really a question also of deciding what sort of seafood you want to eat. So it seems to me that you have, if you like, the meatier type fish, and I would go down if you were talking about meatier, I would be talking perhaps tuna, and potentially some of the wild salmon products that are done in retail at the moment, which are absolutely delicious. And I've just come back from Alaska, where we work closely with indirectly with some UK retailers in supplying them with wild MSC Alaskan salmon, and that is a really, really, I think, excellent product, frankly. And I know that the farm salmon guys won't thank me for this, but if I
it's
go
in a different league.
It's in a different league, and
and we call that sockeye, don't we?
Well, there are a number of species. The two ones which are really offered in UK retail are sockeye and Kita. Kita is also known as chum. So sockeye is kind of like the upper end of the price bracket. Kita is a little bit lower down. I actually think the Kita is really good.
And it's a deeper colour, isn't it?
The sockeye is deeper. So the
sockeye is very orange, very reddy orange.
Yeah.
That is my favourite.
Yeah.
I absolutely adore that.
Yeah. And that's something which has been comparatively new, and it's really been a business which has been started off by some friends of mine in the UK, and they have a great brand. They've got a couple of great brands, one of which is called Leap, and the other one Fish Said Fred. And Fish Said Fred is really, they are very, very involved and partnered with a number of UK retailers in wild Alaskan salmon, tuna, sea bass, which is principally farmed in another other species. But anyway, if we go back to, if you want that meatier type of fish, tuna, and that is there's been an awful lot of work done on the sustainability and responsible fishing of tuna. There's the wild Alaskan salmon, swordfish. I like swordfish. I'm not sure you'll really see that in UK retail at the moment. There is a fishery on the east coast of Canada at the moment, which is MSC certified, and I would dearly love to see some of that product coming to the UK, because a good high oil content fatty swordfish is a really, really delicious product.
Yeah, and really high in omega-3.
Yeah.
Really good for us. It's important that we're eating a varied diet and having
and then you sort of start to move to the
fish.
products like sardines, and I think sardines, grilled sardines on the
I'm not a
barbecue,
fan,
lemon
but you
juice,
love them.
it's absolutely delicious.
Fresh
mackerel is
from
wonderful, and particularly if you do that
so
cerviche, which
Explain what that is, Danny.
Well, that is really when it's almost like it's sort of slightly like a steak tartare type idea, but you cook it with certain seafood. Mackerel does it really well because of the high oil content, and you mix it with some, I can't remember what you would use, perhaps things like
lime.
Capers, and you mix it with lime juice or lemon juice, and it effectively sort of slightly cooks it. With
delicious.
and it's really, really good, although it's of course a completely uncooked fish, but or product, but it's really good. I think we've seen a bit more of that. That's something you can play around with at home,
Yeah.
and do it with a really, really nice, fresh mackerel.
Yeah.
It doesn't
And
really
what's
get
been
any
good
better.
actually on this trip here is our children have always, particularly the boys, loved sushi, but we've had more of it here, and you've had quite a lot of tuna, haven't you?
A little bit of tuna,
And
yes.
I think it's really important when you're in different places, if you travel, to ask what is fresh on the menu, what's locally caught. You're always asking, and I think that's really important. What's in season, what's fresh, not just with fruit and vegetables, but with fish as well. It's important to ask those questions. Yesterday when we had lunch, you asked about the fish.
And then
and what was fresh in.
Yes, absolutely. But I think you can sort of look at those type of fish, the meatier type of fish, and then you could look at whitefish. So you perhaps be looking at cod, haddock, as what we call ground fish, and fish like lemon soles. I love Dover soles. I love Dover soles. There's a good MSC fishery for Dover soles on the southwest of England, but
Sea
also
bass, I love.
Sea bass. Well, I'm going to come on to sea bass in a sec. So we'd be talking about ground fish, which would be
What's ground fish?
well,
What does that mean?
it's a name that's used to. It's a sort of term to use to cover fish which swim at a certain depth generally.
Okay. So do they swim a bit deeper? the ground fish?
Yeah, probably a bit. Yeah. I don't know the exact details, but and you'd be talking about Alaskan pollock and potentially not just Alaskan pollock, British pollock as well, but also hake, which again, British hake, really actually underrated fish, MSC certified, as indeed the South African hake is as well. Really good product. But the delicacy of cod, or and my favourite is haddock, and actually, the core for the fish and chips, and still absolutely delicious, really.
Yeah.
So don't feel, a lot of people say to me, oh, there's no more cod left or whatever. That's absolute nonsense. There's very strong stocks of cod. They're carefully managed. The quotas are permanently reviewed, and MSC cod is responsibly sourced, and there's no reason to back away from having that on your plate.
Thanks, darling.
And then we go on to
Right.
farm fish.
Yes.
So, I think there are certain farm fish that do really well, and others which I'm less keen on.
And what are the ones that do well?
Well, I think the sea bass. I think you would really struggle.
That's why you said to wait for sea bass.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think the sea bass, and it's a sort of classic, Mediterranean grill or on the barbecue. Lots of things you can do with bass, but most, or actually all the major UK retailers have bass on the menu. It's a product that we do ourselves. Of course, we do whitefish and others, but bass is a big item for us.
Yeah.
Farmed. Really, I think you would struggle to tell the difference between a farm bass and a wild bass.
That's maybe why it's so popular, because there isn't much difference.
There's
Whereas
not-
you can tell the difference
Yeah,
between
and
farm
wild
salmon
bass
and wild
is
salmon.
enormously expensive. It is hook and line caught, so you can say that wild bass is generally, if you come across it, it will be responsibly fished. But I think the majority of bass you're going to come across is farmed, and I think it's a very good flavour. There is farmed halibut as well. And the farmed fish does also come under a similar certification to the wild. It's called ASC. It's all run by the same organisation. And there are other certifications. Another one's called Global Gap, and BAP is the third. But everything seems to be moving more towards ASC. So products like Pangasius, which you'll find in retail as well, which is a cheaper whitefish farmed Southeast Asia, Vietnam. Perfectly good fish. Probably, if you're going to use something like Pangasius, you want to be quite creative in what you do with it. I personally find it a bit quite bland, so you want to be doing it with a nice sauce, or you want to be
really well as a sort of curry.
Yeah, you could use it as a curry. You could use it in a fish pie alongside your smoked haddock or whatever you put into it. But the Pangasius, and you could do a sort of crumb it or coat it yourself, and indeed you can buy it pre-coated, so it's available as a pre-coated product as well. So so you've got those sort of farm species, and then of course you've got farm salmon, very much a staple. I think I'm not going to talk too much about farm salmon, because I think there are, there's farm salmon, and I think there are some brands or some retailers that probably do a better job than others.
Yeah. Darling, thank you.
That's right.
Thank you. I hope you have found that helpful, our fishy chat. But if you want more fish things from me, let me know, because I would love to be in the kitchen cooking fish and sharing with you ideas for that. I have got fish on the menu for my dinner party course, which is coming in September, so that's something to watch out for, and I will leave the details of my dinner party course linked down below, as well as the discount code from Rockfish. Rockfish is an incredible company, and I highly recommend you checking them out. We were really, really impressed, and what I love about them is, if you are a bit funny about fish and smells and all of that stuff, their packaging, their processing, the way they do it is second to none. It's incredible, and your fish will arrive without an odour at all. You can literally just open the packet, pop it straight into the oven or straight onto the grill, and there are no fishy smells in the cupboard, in the house, which do happen sometimes with other companies, or if you're buying from the fishmonger and it's been slightly warm weather. So that's something to look out for. But darling, thank you for your advice, sharing your wisdom, and I will see you on Friday with a new vlog, and in the meantime, lots of love.